Hey everyone, it's Slayer the Metallica Fangirl here once again. I'm gonna be doing something a little bit different today, or tonight. Um, since I'm gonna be the evening in my area soon, in like an hour or half an hour, who knows. Um, I'm gonna be ranking every Slayer album from worst to best. And just to let you guys know that Undisputed Attitude will not be included in this ranking because it's a cover album and that I don't listen to cover albums or cover versions of already existing songs when I listen to albums by bands I like. So let's get started, shall we? At number 11, we have Divine Intervention. This is easily the worst Slayer album of all time. And note that that's not everyone's opinion, it's just my personal opinion. Alright, guys? So, this is just like the worst Slayer album in general. It's not even thrash metal. It's more of groove metal than thrash. The only song I like on this album is Ditto Head. But the rest of the songs, they're just way too slow, and I mean way too slow for Slayer. This album just sucks. This album is horrible. So yeah, my rating on this album, 3 out of 10. At number 10, we have Seasons in the Abyss. This is another bad Slayer album, but it's not as bad as Divine Intervention. Well, this one, again, just like Divine Intervention, is not like actual thrash metal, to be honest. It's, well, this album isn't really thrash metal, but I would still give credit that, War Ensemble and that album cover artwork are the only good things about this album. 6 out of 10 album. At number 9, Diabolus in Musica, released in 1998. The same year as Roland Emmerich's Godzilla, which I like that movie. That's the only self-titled Godzilla movie I like, even though Slayer and Godzilla are two different things. This album was honestly better than Divine Intervention and Seasons in the Abyss. This album, this album wasn't as good as I expected it to be, but it's still a pretty solid album. 7 out of 10. Oh, damn it. At number 8, we have God Hates Us All, released in 2001. And, this album was a lot better than Diabolus in Musica, to be honest. And, but to be honest, even though, it's still a pretty solid album, just like Diabolus in Musica, the only track that I find that I find meh is Threshold, which it doesn't really sound like Slayer to me, but it sounds more like something on a slam death metal album rather than a Slayer album. and this song finally has a 10 out of 10 Slayer song for once, and that's the song Bloodline, which that song's my favorite. In which that song's my favorite personal. Sorry, I'm stuttering. Which that song is my personal favorite from this album. Overall rating 8.1 out of 10. Number 7, World Painted Blood. This album was this album was a pretty good send off to the original lineup, but it still has its flaws. To be honest, I just don't really like how soft just forget about it. And the fact that the fact that the fact that this album is the last album to feature the original lineup, as Jeff Hanneman died in 2013 by liver cirrhosis, and that Dave Lombardo was fired in the same year when Jeff died, is a big disappointment to most Slayer fans. 9.6 out of 10. Number 6, Hell Awaits. This album is not as good as Slayer's debut, but I would give credit that it's still a good album. To be honest, the only 10 out of 10 song on this record, in my opinion, is Praise of Death, which that's my favorite song on the album. And the only song that I dislike on this album is the song Necrophiliac. Oh God. So overall, this album gets a 9 out of 10 rating. Not as good as the debut, but it's still a good album. 9 out of 10 album overall. At number 5, we have Christ Illusion. This album was way better than this album was a lot better than God Hates Us All, to be honest. With the only track with the only dislikable track, in my opinion, let me start this over. This album is a lot better than no, not Diabolos in Musica. God Hates Us All. Sorry. Every song on this album is amazing except for the song Jihad, which has a very inappropriate meaning behind it, which I will not say in this video, and neither will I explain it in my posts, YouTube shorts, etc. So yeah, every song on this album is a 10 out of 10, except for Jihad, which is a 9 out of 10 song. Every song on this album is fantastic. 10 out of 10. At number 4, we have Slayer's 12th and final album, Repentless, released in 2015. Which was let me start this over. At number 4, we have Repentless, which is Slayer's 12th and final album, released in 2015, which is the same year when Colin Trevorrow's Jurassic World was released, which I love that movie, to be honest. So yeah, what can I say about this album? It's absolutely amazing. Every song is a 10 out of 10. I love every song on this album. They're all 10 out of 10 albums. No, sorry, damn it. Uh, um, uh, so yeah, every song on this album is a 10 out of 10. I love every track on the album. Yeah, this finale album is very amazing. I love it. 10 out of 10 album. So good. At number 3, we have South of Heaven. This album, sounded like as if it's like a departure from, like a kind of departure from Slayer's normal thrash metal roots. And so this album is very good. I love all the songs on the album. Now, my favorite track on the album, I'm not too sure, to be honest. I think my favorite song on the album is Mandatory You Know What. I can't say, I'm not allowed, my favorite song on this album is Mandatory Suicide, which, let me start this over. My favorite song on this album is Mandatory Suicide. Overall rating for this album, 10 out of 10. It's an amazing masterpiece. It's 10 out of 10 album overall. Yep, 10 out of 10 album. At number 2, we have Rain in Blood, which this album was Slayer's breakthrough album. This album was Slayer's breakthrough album, peaking at number 94 on the Billboard 200. On the Billboard 200 charts. And the fact that Slayer was signed to a literal hip-hop label when they were a thrash metal band is wild. Is what? Let me start this over. The fact that the fact that Slayer was signed to a literal hip hop label when they're a thrash metal band is just absolutely wild. I like all of the songs on this album. All the songs on this album are amazing, especially Angel of Death, Raining Blood, Criminally Insane. So yeah, 10 out of 10 album overall. And finally coming in at number 1, we have Slayer's debut album entitled Show No Mercy. This album was released the same year as Metallica's debut album, Kill 'Em All, and Pantera's real debut album, Metal Magic, which this album is absolutely amazing. I love every song on this album. My favorite song on this album is the song Tormentor. My favorite song on this album has to definitely be Tormentor. And I also did a 440 hertz version of this entire album, because the album's tape was slightly like sped up or pitched sharp. I don't know. I think it was sped up slightly. And overall, overall, I absolutely love this debut record. Um, in my personal opinion, this is Slay's best album. um, 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 yeah, I think, yeah, I love every song of this album. This album is fantastic. Even the album cover is cool as well. It's my favorite album. It's honestly my favorite, Slayer album cover. I wonder who designed this album cover. Overall album rating, 10 out of 10. All the songs are amazing. I highly suggest you check out this album. So yeah, 10 out of 10 album overall. So this concludes my, Slayer album rankings, except for Undisputed Attitude, which that's a cover album with the only original track being Gemini. Which, funny enough, Gemini was the original name for Pantera until, Daryl and Vinny decided to, change it to, Eternity, and then into Pantera, so overall, I absolutely love this band. They're amazing. I highly suggest you to check out all their albums. All their albums are amazing, except for Divine Intervention and Seasons in the Abyss, which those albums are absolute crap. They sound nothing like thrash metal. They're more of groove metal sounding than thrash sounding. And also a bit on the doom metal side as well. So yeah, I absolutely love this band. I I I love this band, to be honest. Well, that concludes my rankings for every Slayer album except for Divine Intervention. Oh no, except for Undisputed Attitude. Well, that concludes it. Goodbye, everyone, and I'll see you guys next time.